Create for yourself a mind multivitamin. Replenish. And just like any vitamin, you take it every day. Tanya Chernova. On today's episode, I am moved to tears as I speak with our guest about the steps to maximize our human potential, truly live life by our design, and take the limits off of ourselves. You have the power to be the boss of your own life. I'm your host, Monica Allen. I'm a wife, mom, entrepreneur, best-selling author, lifelong learner, and your biz bestie. I have a love and passion for all things small business. Growing my own company from $700 to over 7 figures annually, my goal is to bring you inspiration, business-focused topics and tips, encouragement, and a community that helps you launch, grow, and scale your business, whether you are a dreamer, a side hustler, or a seasoned entrepreneur. You are listening to the Become Your Own Boss podcast. As hip-hop celebrates 50 years this year, we here at Zeus's Closet were extremely excited to see some of our custom gear worn recently on the Grammys by rappers from the group Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, pioneers of rap music. Being like a tattoo shop for your clothes, our episode sponsor for this week, Zeus's Closet, has had the pleasure of having custom items worn by the likes of Akon, Rick Ross, the cast of Atlanta, She-Hulk, Black Panther, Creed, and many other notable celebrities. When only the best decorated apparel will do, check out Zeus's Closet at Zeus'sCloset.com, providing custom embroidered and printed gear for all passions of life. I am speaking with a lady that has made such an impact on my life in a rather short amount of time. Having met her at an entrepreneurs organization event some years ago, my guest, Tanya Chernova, is an entrepreneurial force. During our chat, we do not even get into all of her business accomplishments because she is so focused on helping us all grow to our highest level, truly take the limits off and maximize our potential. Today, though we are speaking more specifically about her current work in neuroplasticity, which, by the way, is the ability of the brain to change and adapt in response to different experiences. That's just a simple definition. But you should also know that Tanya began her career in the skincare industry, and at the age of 14, she became Canada's youngest government-licensed esthetician and passionately worked her way to becoming an international industry expert. At 27, she became a trailblazing entrepreneur and formatted the award-winning Time Reverse non-surgical facelift, setting records of over $1 million in first-year sales through her appearances in over 50 shopping network shows worldwide. She is a fierce advocate for women's empowerment. Tanya has been the co-founder of the global women's personal development organization Courageous Living for nearly a decade. She has written a best-selling book entitled Undermined and is just an all-around amazing woman. I can't wait for you to experience my conversation with Tanya. It is hard for me to even explain how excited I am to have my next guest. Tanya, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so thrilled to be here, beautiful Monica.
So sweet. First off, reading through your bio and all of your accomplishments, and I mean, the list is very long. Our conversation could go in so many directions. But one thing that stood out for me is that you are a master at maximizing human performance and potential. Mm. As an entrepreneur myself, and for those entrepreneurs listening, tell me more about that. How do we maximize our human performance and potential?
That's such a great question. And that's a question I ask all the time because I'm always seeking answers. You know, it's always a moving goalpost. The brain, the human brain, the study of the human brain is always evolving, and there's always new apps and new things that we can always discover. What I've learned, though, and the approach I take is first and foremost, listening to people intently so that I can uncover any of the limitations in their thinking. And I know that that sounds very like, oh, of course, that's very logical. However, the book that I wrote and co-wrote, actually, we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary, called Undermined. It was helping people discover the 7 subconscious beliefs that sabotage their life and how to overcome them. Is the limitations are actually categorized into 7 different types of core beliefs. And those are very hidden, just like the word undermine says. It's like hidden in our undermined, in our subconscious mind. It really is only revealed in people's speech, as well as our results in life reveal how we are limiting ourselves in our life. We only have to look into our life to say, if someone's struggling with money and they want to reveal more of their human potential in finances or in intimacy or in entrepreneurship, it's like, okay, look at the results that you have in your life right now. That is a mirror reflecting back to you your core beliefs about yourself, others, and the world. And so when we do the listening, we're looking for those hidden beliefs that could be sabotaging the results. And we look at the results in people's lives, and we really pay attention to the results. And a lot of people think, yeah, these are my results, but let's focus on my goals. No, let's focus on the results and see where it is that you feel that you are limited, and how can we see where there is more human potential. The other thing too is that I'm very, very blessed to have a natural intuition for people's potential. So just like, and I kind of liken it like I have girlfriends that walk into people's homes and they can just rearrange the pillows and the furniture, and all of a sudden, voila, it's like Vogue, right? Or they can go into your wardrobe and they pull the pieces together and you think, Mom, magic, right? It's beautiful because they have this underlying innate intuition for putting things together. And I have this underlying innate intuition that really sees people's potential. And that higher self, honestly, I know it sounds kind of strange, but it really even speaks to me. Like when I see people and I speak to them, I can feel in their energy and I can hear in their sort of vibe, if you will, like what's really still available for them. And then we move towards that. And a lot of that is even spoken to us in quiet yearnings, right? We all have these yearnings that for certain aspects of our life to grow, but then we try to shut them down or suppress them, or maybe we've tried looking for the answers and ultimately we're met with limitations. It's kind of a combination of intuition and really quality listening for those underlying core beliefs.
Wow. You have a great gift, I will say. I am very, very blessed to have known you now for at least 10 years, maybe. And I can remember a few years ago, you did a exercise at EO Atlanta's retreat. Mm-hmm. And it was an exercise where you had us think about someone and step into being that person. Mm-hmm. And I may not be explaining it correctly, but that was so powerful to me. I can't even begin to tell you how it really not only moved me, but I felt more powerful in doing that. Can you just kind of speak to that aspect of stepping into our full potential and kind of what the first steps of that looks like?
And I'm so glad that you felt the shift there, because it is so powerful when we choose to step into ourselves, into our best selves. Our future self is an imagined self that we have without those limitations, like our ideal self. Imagine your ideal self without the limitations, the one that's getting up in the morning and doing the thing that you're wanting to do in your morning rituals, or speaking in front of the crowds, or whatever it is that your vision that you have of yourself is. Mm-hmm. And then when we visualize and we use the power of our mind to formulate a vision that we can literally see inside of our mind, it actually reorganizes the energy in our body so that we truly feel connected to that and feel more powerful. And it's an NLP technique to say, okay, imagine your future self. What is it that you're looking like? What is it that you're doing? What have you accomplished, as if it's done already? And then you physically step into that individual. You step into yourself as that powerful being. So you literally embody the new version of yourself. And it's almost like a click, because you are in fact aligning with the truest vision of who you feel you are.
Okay, got it. So this is my question to that though, because I felt so powerful in that moment, but I also felt like I lost it. Like once I kind of stepped back into my real world or my daily grind, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Because we have so much going on that is demanding of our time and our energy and our attention. Really, the two key words that I feel like we can take away from this particular question is intention and alignment, right? So I have the intention of who I am as my best self. And then when I imagine myself stepping into that we feel that moment of alignment where we feel that powerful energy, right? That just links us to her. But at the same time, when I'm distracted and I'm back into my regular flow, I'm back again living in those limitations. We create the way that the growth journey works is that we create a vision of our future self. And then we look at the things that are not in alignment with who we really are. Let me just ask you a question. Okay. So give us an example of a description of that future self that you had imagined.
That future self was powerful and also like no financial worries or woes. Everything was taken care of. I felt calm and at ease and at peace with that.
Excellent. Okay. So we'll stay right there. No financial worries. Everything was calm, peace, and ease. And then when I go back into my regular life, all I see is the thing I saw before, which is financial worries without the calm, peace, and ease. So the hard part is that when we make an intention to say, okay, I see myself as a woman who is financially secure with calm, peace, and ease, how do I then bring that feeling into my regular world so that I can hold on to that alignment? It requires a shift, a radical shift in perspective, because you might say where you're sitting right now that you have financial worries without the peace and ease. But Monica, where do you actually have financial stability with peace and ease when you look at your finances?
Well, okay, so there's money there. There's liquidity. But I think I have just kind of the growing up the way I grew up. I think I know I have limiting beliefs around money and I don't want to say the lack of it, because I know it's there, but it's just
beyond your reach.
Right. Like I have this thought process of, my grandmother never made more than $30,000 a year, and yes, I'm beyond that, but it's kind of, I have this limit in my mind of, well, how am I going to get to this number that I may desire? And my grandmother never even made $30,000. And it's almost a little bit of guilt too. Like, why do you want that? Why do you want so much? I don't know. It's definitely a limiting belief.
No, it's okay. Well, we can unpack that, right? I think for the listeners, like everyone can relate to you, and I can relate to you myself, of course, because we've all been in a place where, okay, so let's break it down. There is a part of me, and this is where we actually do this exercise in the book. It's called the parts exercise. Okay. Part of me wants to grow my business and achieve this level of income. And a part of me feels guilty for wanting more. Okay. A part of me feels like I can reach this incredible number. And a part of me feels like I can't because my grandmother never even made this money. The question is, first of all, who is the authentic you? The authentic true you versus the limited fearful you. And anything that is a fear-based thought is not the authentic you, because the authentic true you, the one that has been created with the infiniteness of the universe by God, if you subscribe to that philosophy, right? Whatever your spiritual, because we're spiritual beings, right? And I approach everything from a spiritual place because I'm faith-based. But at the same time, it's important to just understand we're also from a scientific basis, we're just energy, right? Essentially combined. So it's a matter of understanding that there's a part of me that wants something and a part of me that feels like holding myself back. Which part is the authentic me? Traditionally, the one that has the biggest yearning and desire, because we're meant to grow expansively, right? Like you think trees, they don't sit there and think, okay, I can't grow beyond this simply because my neighbor over here is only this short or this tall. Trees grow effortlessly. We grow effortlessly. We're constantly yearning and drawing towards expansion. What keeps us limited is that subconscious mind that truly has those neuronal programs in them. There's that. So we unpack that first and ask, which is the authentic me? Is it the one that's fearful or is it the one that's yearning? Okay. And likely what is the authentic you is the yearning side of you, and the fearful you is the one that's limiting you. We want to clear up the limitation. The next step is to say, okay, so where does this belief come from? Like, why do I believe this? Ultimately, those beliefs, like you said right away, tend to be from our childhood. Like, I looked at grandma, this is all she'd ever made. This is all I can ever do. And this is a very normal human thing, because if you think of like the Olympics or any of the world records, for the longest time, in the longest jump or in the longest fastest run, this was the record until somebody broke it, and then 3 other people broke it right after, right? We do need examples. And I think that from a conscious perspective, I always look for people who are good examples where I can say, if she can do it, I can do it too, right? But we don't look back and say, okay, if my grandmother only did this, then why could I be capable of doing more? Because today we live in a completely different world and everything is at your fingertips, right? But we look for positive examples for where we feel we can stretch more, which is why I love EO so much, and even my EO women events, because we go there and we listen to what other women have overcome and think, okay, if she can do it, so can I, kind of idea. But the deeper work, the deeper therapy, which was actually founded by my co-author, Joanna Andros, is progressive neural resolution therapy, PNRT. And she and I created the content for this to be approved by the Psychotherapy Association of Canada. So now it's an advanced therapy that we teach therapists. Instead of talk therapy, it's subconscious therapy, where you go back. So it's like, Monica, is there a part of you that feels guilty for making more money?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, like you can connect to that part. That part's like really alive and well. It's like the part of you says, yes, here I am. Here I am. It's like, okay, Monica, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths. How old is that part, right? How old do you think that part is? And that part will tell you how old she is. How old do you think that part is? First answer.
10.
In your mind, you have a 10-year-old defining moment. And in the 7 steps to creating your sabotaging blueprint. And again, in the book, we have this understanding that we used to think that self-sabotage was an act, like procrastination or self-doubt, like it was a thing, like a one act thing that happened. But it's actually 7 stages that your brain goes through in order to create sabotage in your mind as well as in your life. And the first one is the defining moment. So there's a defining moment, a moment like grandma says something, or mom and dad, or I didn't get what I wanted. At 10 years old, like, where are you? So we take you back into that memory, like while you're kind of in this sort of relaxed state. And where would you have been at 10 years old? Where is that part? Think back to, I'm asking you to do it consciously, but
I probably was at home. I lived with my mom and my grandmother. My mom was a single mom. We all lived in the same house. So I was probably at home somewhere.
Yeah. We identify it as a single situation because it's like, out of all the memories, there's usually the one moment where it's like you're at home and they're arguing about money or something's happening, and there's a defining moment. And in that moment, your mind makes a decision about yourself, about others, and about how the world operates. In that moment, there's like this trifecta happening, right? And you might say, I'm not worthy of whatever's happening. People don't have enough and life is hard, example, right? What would you have said in that moment? Like, I am not, what would have happened in that 10-year-old moment, do you think?
Probably me just thinking, I don't need to ask for things because we don't have it anyway.
That's right. Yeah. It's like, I can't ask for things, right? I don't need to ask for things.
Yeah.
People don't have it anyway, or like, we don't have it anyway. And life is
tough.
Life is tough. Okay.
Yeah.
What happens in that moment? And thank you for sharing that, very vulnerable moment. Like, that's not easy, right? Our story defines us until we can redefine ourselves. That's so important to understand, right? And look at how emotional we get. Like, it's so real. We're 10 years old so long ago. And even 30 years later, we still feel the same pain we felt as that 10-year-old girl. Like, you see that she's alive and well in you, Monica, and she's making your life decisions based on a belief system that she had created because of the environment. Our environment dictates our beliefs and our behavior, right? Our environment dictates our beliefs dictate our behavior. That's how it works, right? And so in that moment, we decided, okay, I don't need to ask for things. We don't have it anyway. And life is tough. It makes a perception of the world moving forward. You moved forward with that feeling like I shouldn't ask for anything. We don't have it anyway. Life is tough. And that's how you continue to live your life. And now as a woman, how old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
49.
Girl, you look so fine. Delicious. You're delicious. So yeah, at 49, right? Do you still feel that hesitation when you want to ask for something?
Oh, definitely. I feel hesitation constantly. You can ask Ethan how I debated about Beyonce tickets for hours. Like,
yeah.
He's like, just get them. And
Exactly.
I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I can see how much it really bothers you, because the part of you that's what's happening now and the emotions that you're feeling is exactly that inner conflict that so many of us battle. The deep yearning for more, knowing it's there for you. And then that feeling of hesitation and ugly fear, like guttural, visceral fear that it's just not allowed. Like we haven't grown out of that belief. Any of our PNRT therapists would actually take you back into that place where you, Monica, would walk in at your 10-year-old and you would introduce herself to you and say, I am you and you are me. And I'm 49 now. And this little girl, I can assure you, is probably going to be shocked that you're already this age, because the way that our mind works is that anything that triggers us, like Beyonce tickets, right? Immediately that's out of our comfort zone triggers. It's different when you're buying groceries. You don't even look twice at the bill because you already know you're buying groceries. That's a comfort zone purchase. But something outside the comfort zone spend automatically triggers. Anytime we get out of the comfort zone, the first thing we feel is fear. When we feel fear, we go into our survival patterns. Our survival patterns prevent us from experiencing disappointment, because it's the disappointment we had as a kid where we wanted something and didn't get it. And then you feel the hesitation, maybe I shouldn't, because maybe we don't have it and life is tough. That whole thing comes back again. And so the therapist would get you to rewire that belief and set that 10-year-old free to play, to shop, to spend, to do whatever she wanted. And then it actually rewires the way that your brain thinks about money so that it stops going back to that same survival pattern, and it creates a new belief that you impregnate in your brain so that you don't keep going back to the same old patterns.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do I see one of these therapists?
I'm going to hook you up. It's well, you can see our website. It's pnrt.ca, and you're more than welcome to have Joanna on your show. She's a brilliant speaker too. And I would highly recommend that you just experience the session essentially beforehand. But I think I've had lots and lots and lots of these sessions myself, because I've had to upgrade my beliefs about everything, about love, about health, about wealth, about intimacy, about my own sensuality, and giving myself permission to want more, like all of that kind of stuff, right? Because we get our core beliefs when we're younger, and then we never upgrade our beliefs. We upgrade our furniture, we upgrade our clothes, we upgrade everything except for our belief systems. And those are the ones that truly dictate our perception of reality. Once you upgrade those beliefs, your perception changes. So for example, when I did work on my heart and it's called the heart work, by the way, not hard work, but the heart work, because it's when you're able to release those emotions and feel totally different about the situation, right? Essentially, when I had to do some healing work in and around how I felt about men, my now husband, who was then my vendor, he was my website designer, he and I had this connection when we first met that was very natural and chemical. But I thought immediately, no, I can't be with someone that nice. Like, there's no way, life's way too hard. There's no way, right? Or men, I had all these terrible beliefs about men. So when I did my healing work 3 years later, I looked at him and I saw forever, right? Like, that's the thing, is that we always have everything that we need to move forward in our life right where we are. The answer is always in the room. The question is, can we see beyond our blind spots? And it's our limiting beliefs. It's our beliefs in general that create blind spots, because once we have a fixed perception of how things are, we can't see beyond it, even if it's right in front of us.
Okay. I don't know if this is more of a statement, I guess, than a question, but in you saying that, we feel like we evolve, right? Like, I feel like, okay, I graduated, I went to college, I got a great job, I left that job, I started my own business, I've grown, I've left that 10-year-old behind.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I haven't.
No.
And that to me,
right in there.
Right. And just, I wonder how many of us out there listening right now have, maybe not the 10-year-old girl like myself, but somewhere in there's something that's holding us back from our full human potential.
That's it. That is it. It's our neuronal wiring, and you have beliefs about everything. And you know what? You really know how prevalent they are when you feel that deep-seated emotion, when the sadness is still there. Like, there are things that I could go back in my childhood before that were traumas that just re-traumatized me. They re-triggered me, and I felt it. When they're healed, you look back at them like it's a story of yourself, but there's no emotional charge anymore. And that's what we want. We want that healing so that we can let go and move forward. It's just like cutting sandbags off a helium balloon or a hot air balloon that can rise higher. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. That is just, the thought of that is amazing. And, it's funny because every time I'm around you and I talk to you, I usually end up misty or in tears or something.
Right. That's good. In a safe space.
but all in a good space, all in a good way. I guess my question next would be, what can we do as entrepreneurs who I know we're often held back by things? What's our next step? Get your book, right? We can get the book.
Sure. That's the cheapest possible solution, 100%, because it's a workbook. We do take exercises all the way through. You can, in fact, uncover the defining moment. You can, in fact, look and find out what your blueprint of self-sabotage is. And we can help you right in the book. Like, there's healing modalities that you just follow and just fill in the blanks. And definitely there's a huge amount of healing that gets, because some of it you just unconscious and you think, oh, like sometimes it's just decluttering. You think, oh my gosh. So I'll give you an example. When I was doing couples therapy with my husband, because we're always striving for a better relationship.
Love that.
Of course, right? A lifetime relationship must grow along with who we are. One of the things though, that he kept complaining about, he's like, it's never enough for you, Tanya. No matter what we do, I just feel like you're always going to look for more and more and more. And I feel like I'm not enough for you. I feel like we're not creating even the events that we go to, the vacations. It's like, but he was interpreting it like, because my yearning is so great and I have so much ambition, he kept feeling like it was not enough, right? What I recognized, however, because a part of me was like, well, it's good to have not enough, because then, you're always growing, you're always pushing, you got to push, push, push. But where is that really coming from? Like, is it really necessary to always push, push, push? But it came from that not enoughness. Like, one of the 7 subconscious beliefs, the first one is, I am not enough. Like, rich enough, pretty enough, tall enough, young enough, old enough, like fill in the blanks, like, we're not enough. And so that insatiability, like I couldn't understand where it came from. And then I did some schema work. And one of the schemas is emotional insufficiency. Did you know that not getting enough emotional support when you were a kid actually makes you emotionally starving, and then you end up looking for things to fill the void? Now, many of us know that because we've been subjects of retail therapy, where you just feel so nourished for buying something for yourself, but then again, so empty. Essentially, I recognized, oh, you know what? A lot of my yearning for more and that push, push, push came from an emotional insufficiency. Once I recognized where that was coming from, the next time I had that temptation, I recognized, no, Tanya, you know what? You are enough. Like, I love you. And I would give loving thoughts to myself. And then that extra yearning for push, push, push would go away. It's kind of hard to explain it in the nuances, but so much of what we want and so much of who we are, right, is completely based on how we've developed, obviously, right? So we need to look into that developmental stage so that we understand how to fix it or how to shift it, not even fix it, but how to heal it, right? But you asked me a very simple question, which is, what can we do as entrepreneurs? Okay, so number one, honestly, I think this is, and Joanna would probably say the same thing, is you get a notebook and you start writing down the negative beliefs, like whatever is the negative inner chatter. So in the 7 stages, the first is the defining moment. Then after that, your mind makes a decision about yourself, others, and the world. And then you create that perception of reality that matches that. Immediately, if you have something that's bigger than that, you're out of alignment. The reason that we don't get the thing we want, like let's say as a young kid, you decided I'm not smart enough for whatever reason. You raised your hand, the teacher said no, then you decided that's it, I'm never going to be smart again. Because we make blanket generalizations, right? That are helpful. When you touch a stove, you want your brain to say, don't touch any stove from now on because they're all hot. But it doesn't mean just because I answered one question wrong in school that I'm going to answer every question wrong in school for the rest of my life. But that's what the brain basically tells you, right? It's just kind of unfortunate that way. The blanket generalization is, for example, I'm not smart enough. Others are better than me. Life is hard. Okay. And then you want to go to this really prestigious university for some reason, for whatever topic. Okay. But then as you're writing the entrance exams, as you're writing the whatever, there's a voice inside of you saying, I don't even know why you're bothering. You're never getting in there. Everybody else is smarter than you. And then you actually get into the university and then you get imposter syndrome because you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. They must have made a mistake on my entrance exams. We all feel like that negative inner chatter. It's like, blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, despite everything, you're moving along, but there's no joy, right? So the first thing to do is to start writing down whatever your brain is telling, whatever your mind is telling you, just start writing it down. I'm this, I'm that, life's this, life's that, especially when you're triggered. I would come home with a bunch of stuff full in my head, especially when you're moving towards your outside your comfort zone. And I would write everything all the way down. So on lined paper, all the way down. Then you put a line next to it and then you read it, first of all. And then you say, look at what I'm thinking. These are my core beliefs. What is my certain future? And you think, not good, like not good. If I keep thinking these things and I let these thoughts take over my life, I'm moving in the opposite direction of my goals and I'm limiting my potential. Then you flip the statement. You flip the statement and say, no, I am enough. I am smart enough. Life can be easier. I can be in flow. People do want to hear what I have to say, right? Like whatever the opposite of that statement is. And then you record that into your voice notes and start playing it for yourself. First thing in the morning is your alarm. You can actually set it as your alarm. And then you start hearing your own voice telling you a different set of beliefs. Your conscious mind can also reprogram your subconscious mind, because the minute that you start putting new beliefs into your mind, even though you don't agree with them, right? Even though they're not there yet, right? It's like not true. Like I am financially stable. I have more money than enough. I have so much now I can freely give. It may not be the case right now, but you need to get into that place where you're impregnating your mind, like you're planting new seeds so new flowers can grow, right? And so when you listen to that over and over again every single morning while you're still in that semi-conscious state, and it's your own voice, your reticular activating system, which is a part of the way your brain recognizes things that match your beliefs, starts calling in new opportunities, new things. You start breaking down the blind spots and starting to see new things. And now the goal is to say yes to the new thing and to take that risk because you're consciously calling in change into your life.
Wow. That's amazing. I'm going to do that.
Hack it up.
I'm definitely going to do that. And I love the wake up to it. That's great. I'm going to do that. I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
But you're welcome. But we take it like a multivitamin, right? And I say to people all the time, how many in audiences, how many of you take some sort of supplement, right? And you take that because you're trying to replenish what's missing. And that's exactly the same as this. This is a mind multivitamin. So a lot of people think, well, why would I say something to myself that's not true and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, don't get caught up in that. Create for yourself a mind multivitamin. And you are clearly deficient in that. Replenish. And just like any vitamin, you take it every day. It's not going to be like, oh, day one, I don't feel anything for my one vitamin. No, you got to take that vitamin at least 3 months. I'm telling you, if you record the opposite of what you think, knowing that those are the deficiencies in your life and you create them into efficiencies and you listen to that once a day, when you first start to wake up for 3 months every day, tell me your life won't change. I promise you things will completely change for you. 100%.
I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to report back 3 months after this episode airs.
Excellent.
Yes, I love a mind multivitamin. I love that. I wrote that down. Thank you
That's
so
good.
much. Thank you so much for that. I didn't realize this is going to be my own personal session, but I do appreciate you. I know you've done so many things. You have a best-selling book, you've traveled all over the world. But what is one thing, if you could go back and tell your younger self, what would you tell yourself? And it could be personal or on your entrepreneurial journey.
Like advice or just
Yeah.
encouragement or
Like, what's some advice you would give to that young girl of yourself?
It's a good question. Honestly, I know what I would tell myself because I started so early. My mother was a very ambitious person, and being an immigrant, whatever, first generation, like I moved here from Russia in 1980. So I had to learn English and like everything else, right? Obviously your parents want more for you, but I was very fortunate. By the time I was 23, I was living in Europe. I was an international educator because I'd done so much work as a skin specialist because my mother was a dermatologist and I had my aesthetics degree. Anyway, I did everything very early. Okay. So even at 14, I was the youngest government licensed esthetician. We broke the boundaries for it, which helped so many other women achieve a professional career, even if they dropped out of school, for example. But like I'd done so much. By the time I was 23, I could have published my first book. I could have published 5 books by the time I was 27. But of course, back then, publishing books and self-publishing was not a thing. And it was like, you know what? I just held myself back and I said, no, you're not old enough. The advice I would give myself is publish early. Start like it's not too early and it's never too late. Like that limitation would have been one I would have loved to have dissolved to say, publish now. Your voice deserves to be heard. What you have to say matters. You're not too young. Just do it now.
Right. Wow. That's really good. And that's some great advice for all of the young people now, because I think so many times we want to put limits on ourselves and box ourselves in, which I think is what it has been so great about social media. I know there's lots of negative to it as well,
right.
But the positive aspects of that is that so many young people see opportunities of being an influencer, or I know my daughter's created her own YouTube channel and has done decent for a 12-year-old.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Those things, and not being limited by your age. I love that.
Yeah. And you know what? It's never too early or too late to be a good example. Never. Everybody needs a good example at every stage of our lives because we often see ourselves better when we are looking and listening to others.
I love that. So many great takeaways. Well, Tanya, I could talk to you for hours.
Me too.
But I do try to keep the podcast at a certain amount of time so people won't stop listening. But I could talk to you forever. Well, tell people how they can reach you if they want, or like what people you look for to work with, or where they can find you. I know you have a lot of stuff happening, and I looked at your website. There's so many things you offer. But where should someone start if they want to know more about Tanya Chernova?
Okay, that's great. If you want to know more, obviously there's TanyaChernova.com with Tanya with a Y. And you can always reach out to me at TanyaChernova.com. But I'm on the social networks. I'm on LinkedIn too. That's a great place to get a hold of me and see some great articles and things like that. And just reach out. I think the people that I feel like I can best help are ones like entrepreneurs who are looking for their next big idea or feel like they're in a place where there's a great deal of yearning, but then there's also that limitation or the lack of strategy, or just, I know I want more. I just don't know what it is or how to get there, or I know what it is, but I can't figure out how to get there. That conversation, one enlightening conversation, and all of a sudden the magic is revealed. And then there's programs like My Next Big Idea. I had a woman, for example, who came to me. She was an entrepreneur. She had a successful business, but it was in the lower kind of early millions, if you will, right? And it was a small business. She was a small to medium-sized business. And she knew that she wanted to do something that was absolutely record-breaking and didn't know what it was. And so ultimately we had a year of coaching called My Next Big Idea Coaching. And then she went to Europe with a group of colleagues and saw a show, which everybody thought was neither here nor there. And she was like, that's it. This is my next big idea. And then brought it back to North America during the pandemic. And it became the immersive Van Gogh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it made hundreds of millions of dollars in the first, right? Because they opened up everywhere. And ultimately it's like you really need to open yourself up. Like there is some deeper work to be done to open your mind for the next big idea. There is definitely, it's there for you. And you have to be ready. You have to be able to have all the blinders off so that you can see it, and then have the courage, of course, which helps with this. The coaching is for that, to move forward with it and develop it. But it all happens one step at a time.
Wow. But that gave me chills. Gave me chills because one, I've seen that immersive Van Gogh exhibit, which was amazing.
Amazing.
And the second part to that is I did a podcast interview earlier today with an entrepreneur who happened upon a second business idea, and he's gotten it going.
That's great.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. That gave me chills.
Yeah.
The next big idea.
Yeah.
And see, that is where the limits have to come off, because I know for me, I'm stuck a little bit on, well, this is what I've been doing for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I'm really good at it. And anyway, okay. We won't make this another personal Monica therapy session. However,
I love you, Monica. I'm always happy to talk to you.
This has been so good. And I definitely will have all of your contact info in the show notes so people can reach out to you if they want. And Tanya, just thank you so much for your time. This has been fabulous.
Thank you so much. And thank you for being such a commitment, not only to yourself and your family, but to the incredible people you serve, Monica. You are so willing to show people the way. And together, I live by this African proverb, which is faster alone, further together. And I know that you are bringing your community further together. Thank you so much for being who you are.
Thank you.
I want to thank Tanya for being a Become Your Own Boss podcast guest. I'm going to share with you my takeaways from this episode next week since we went a bit long. However, I would love to hear yours as well. And I will share them next week if you share them with me. You can message me on Instagram at Become Your Own Boss Podcast, or share your takeaways with me at monica@monicaallen.com. I feel like Tanya has given us some great tips for becoming the boss of our own mind. So let's do it. Thanks for tuning in today. I am grateful for you taking the time to listen. Make sure you take a moment to follow me on Instagram, where I post business topics and tips. Also, rate, share, and follow the podcast. Leave a written review if you have the time on Apple or Spotify. You taking just a few moments to do these things helps the podcast grow and helps get it out to other business owners. Remember, now is the time. Now is the time to level up, leave a legacy, and become your own boss.